Dear Amish Voice Publication, we have been receiving your letters lately, and we are fully contented with the faith that we have. Thus, we have not even a remote desire to even seek anything else. If our faith is not right in the eyes of God, then why did our forefathers willingly bear hunger, cold, poverty, and even death, rather than give up their faith? And why has it stood for hundreds and hundreds of years? If our faith was good enough for them to sacrifice their lives, then it is by far good enough for us. My response to that letter is as follows. Why are you using our forefathers as the standard for your beliefs? What standard do you think our forefathers used? Is it possible that they relied on something other than their forefathers for their standard? How can you be so confident that you're still walking in the footsteps of our forefathers? Another question might be, do you want your grandchildren and great-grandchildren to rely on you as their standard? Really? Think about it. I know someone that thought just like you. They lived during the time that Jesus lived on the earth. The leaders of whom I speak were looked at as the most religious people of their day. They stood out. They relied on the fact that their forefathers were Jewish, that they were chosen and adopted by God Himself. But I want you to look at what Jesus had to say to these religious people. He said this in Matthew chapter 15, verse 1. They be blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. What do you think these religionists were using for their standard? Forefathers? A list of rules? Whatever it was, their standard was leading them straight into the ditch and right into the lake of fire. One thing is for certain, they were following the wrong standard. While the original standard may have been right, and we know it was, the standard along the way shifted and went off course. If these same religionists had kept God's word for their standard, they would have known when God's only begotten Son showed up, and they would have followed Him. However, when God's Son showed up and did not fit their warped and corrupted standard, they killed Him. God has always had one standard for every race, for every generation, and every tongue. It's not a long list of rules. It is not even a certain church denomination, or a certain man, or a certain revival, or fathers from the past. God has another standard, and it's found in 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 24 through 25. For all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of grass. The grass withereth, and the flower thereof falleth away. But the word of the Lord endureth forever. And this is the word which by the gospel is preached unto you. That, my friend, is God's standard.